It's BS with Bob Schmidt on today's Talk 1490. The pleasure of doing this radio job is you get an opportunity to talk to people that you watch on TV, that you've seen on different types of programs that you hear, that you get to watch on Antique Roadshow. And a guy that's coming to La Crosse, he'll be at the Price is Right Live. That show's coming up here on Wednesday, November the 8th. Tickets are available for $29 to $49 at the La Crosse Center. Mark Walberg joining me. Mark, hey, pleasure to have you on my show today.
Glad to be here.
So
Thanks for having me.
Let me ask you this: How does a guy end up becoming an announcer on a radio on a couple of TV shows, and then parlay that into the career that you've had?
You know, it's as I tell most of the people that ask that question, I say, if you want to make God laugh, you make plans. Because nothing in my career was as planned. I literally was giving up the hopes of a career when I started working in production. So when I first got married, I figured one of us had to get a job. My wife was an actress, so I got a job at Dick Clark Productions, and that was really how things worked out. You know, a warm-up guy didn't show up. I showed up and grabbed the mic. I was kind of funny, started hosting my own shows, and one thing sort of led to another, and it was a happy accident.
So, I mean, did you have any radio background or any microphone
background? I didn't have radio background. I had performance background. I'd done musical theater, and I, kind of was the guy who always could grab a mic and MC something. I kind of had a gift of gab, I guess, and then when I was the warm-up guy, I'd never seen anybody do warm-up. That's the guy who entertains the studio audience. Right. So I was kind of just doing my thing, and before I knew it, people were calling me. I had a little desk job at the Clark Productions, and I would get calls saying, "Can you call in sick on Tuesday?" Of course, doing warm-up, I got paid like a month's pay. So I would call in sick and go do warm-up for other companies. And then I came in for a warm-up job, and they didn't need a warm-up, but they needed an announcer for a game show, Shop Till You Drop. And I said, well, I can read. We'll see how that works out. And then next thing I know, I was on camera and hosting shows. So it really was just showing up and saying, yes, I can, every time somebody asked me if I could do something, and then figuring it out later.
So let me ask you this: is that the best way to be successful in life? Is just by saying yes and
Absolutely.
doing the best
Absolutely.
that you can?
Say yes. There's a rule in improv, and when you learn improv comedy, it's the yes and. You never deny anything. You say yes, and then you add to it. And I found that if you use that rule in life, more often than not, you don't fail. You just go with what's in front of you.
That's cool. You mentioned that the good way to make God laugh is to make plans. Are you a religious guy?
That's right. I am. I'm culturally religious. I'm spiritually very, very strong. My wife and I, have a conversation about God and all that stuff every day. And, when you're in show business, you better believe in something because nothing else is written in stone. So, I've been 30 years in show business and raised 2 kids in Hollywood. And if you don't have your feet planted in something real, you're going to get lost really quickly.
Oh, I can only imagine. I used to watch the show that you were the host of, the Moment of Truth, and I'll bet you that some of those questions when you had to ask them were pretty, I don't know, let's say difficult to ask.
I would say it on the air. I don't want to read this next question, and the person would say, "It's okay, I'm okay with it." I'm like, it's not about you. I don't want to have to say this on television.
Right.
That was a show that I did. This is a perfect example of if you make plans, God laughs, because I was doing a pilot for another show, and I got done at 9:30 at night, and I got a call saying, we're doing a pilot for this show over here, and we just fired our host. How quick can you get here? So in all of my years in show business, I never saw a network primetime show come to me at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. And so I just showed up. I was already in makeup on the other show, and I did their pilot at midnight, and that sold all over the world.
Really? So
yeah.
When
I have a million stories like that. It just never goes through the front door. It's always through the back door.
Well,
side door.
Do you ever want to just yell out like my initials, BS? Like when he called you and said that, hey, would you try that? Come on, you got to be fooling me.
I have learned to accept those moments. And what's great about a moment like that is that when somebody calls you in that moment, they're in a crisis. So when you show up, if you do a poor job, they're like, well, what do you expect? You got called at the last minute. And if you do a passing job, you're a hero. So while I would prefer to be the first call, being the last call has an advantage.
Oh, absolutely. Mark Walberg will be hosting The Price is Right live at the La Crosse Center. So let me ask you this: how does somebody go from doing the Antique Roadshow on PBS to getting in front of an audience at the La Crosse Center for doing the Price is Right live?
Well, I was doing Price is Right live before Antique Roadshow.
Oh,
the Price is Right live version of that's been around for 15 years or so.
Okay.
And we used to do it in Las Vegas and Atlantic City, and then we found that there was this great appetite for the show on the road, and so it's been touring, and quite frankly, it's not. I kind of fill in. I'm doing 3 weeks or so on the road, but I don't really want to be away from home for a 3-month tour.
Right.
But I do love doing The Price is Right. So for me, it's almost like vacation. It's it's the crew are my dear friends, and getting an audience of 2,500 people just ready to see a show and just being able to facilitate that to people is a blast. And it's unlike TV because we don't select our contestants beforehand. It's just random selection. We just pull them out of a hat. So you never know what's going to show up on stage. So as a host, you really got to be on your toes and ready to have a good time.
Right. So do you have background in improv then in order to do these game shows?
I do have some background in improv, but, I'm a game show nerd. So, I grew up in the business for 30 years doing this stuff. So, it's sort of, that's my lane. That's what I know how to do. Plus, my improvising experience, and just being a warm-up guy, you never know what you're going to get. So, over all those years, I kind of run into so many situations that it's hard to shock me on stage. Although it happens almost every night. Something happens on that show, and you're like, what? But that's the fun.
Got to ask, though, what was the most embarrassing on-stage Mark Walberg moment?
Oh, my. In The Price is Right or in my life?
Well, let's say
so
in life, because I mean you've been known to do a lot of shows. What's the most crazy thing that happened to you?
Well, I mean, I did a live corporate event where I was a speaker, and I went down and I did the whole thing and felt great about it. The audience was terrific, and I walked out going, "Wow, I really did great." And I looked in the mirror, and I was wearing the pants from one suit and the jacket from another suit, and they were both plaid. So that was not good. And I don't know how I got out of the hotel room looking in the mirror going, "You look great." But that was a bad day. And then there have been a million moments of, especially when I was a warm-up guy, because that's uncontrollable. And I can remember doing talent shows and giving the mic to people and things coming out of their mouth that was so over the top that I'm like wrestling the microphone from them. But as far as on camera, I can't really think of any horribly embarrassing moments on. Well, there was one where I was doing a game show and we were doing like 12 episodes in a day, and we were so tired, and I'm interviewing the contestants and kind of zoning out in the middle of the show, and this rather balding man had a hair hanging down in front of his face, and all I could see was his hair coming in and out as he spoke. So as he's speaking, I went to brush it away, but it was still attached. It was like the one hair he was grooming to be like the comb-over hair. And now I have hold of it, and you can see that it's attached, and it's on camera, so I plucked it. And he was shocked. And I expected the director to stop tape, and the segment goes on, and the show goes on, and I found out later that the director had fallen out of his chair, and they just kept rolling the show. So I guess that would go under the embarrassing heading.
That's actually a great moment. Were you expecting like a Jerry Springer moment at that time,
Well, it's just, I had good intentions, but then once I had hold of the hair and I saw it was like pulling on his forehead, now I'm committed, so what do I do? And I don't know why I pulled it, so I plucked that hair right out of the stranger's head. But I promise, if you come on The Price is Right live in La Crosse, I won't pull any hair out of you. So.
Well, I think that would make it all the more fun. Mark, sometimes they do the tape, like for WWE and wrestling events and stuff. They'll bring they'll videotape things and use for play later. Have they ever thought about taking some of the Price is Right live performances and put those as part of if Drew Carey's sick for the day or something?
I have said there are many moments that would have gone viral had you posted them, but they're really touchy about posting stuff from the show because it gives away what we're doing.
Oh.
We don't want the contestants to know how the prices are and stuff like that, although we change them all the time. But, it's so funny that Price is Right Live is this long-running and sold-out success that is sort of operates in its own little space. So, the 12 of us go on the road, we make it happen, and everybody has a great time, and it's sort of a TV experience, on steroids, and then it's gone. Once the day's over, if you said something funny, nobody saw it. Or if you said something stupid, nobody heard it, so it's good.
Does Bob Barker give his blessings, or, Drew Carey, or?
I think Drew has given a blessing. We kind of are, a separate unit, although the same company. A lot of the people that have worked on our show have also worked on the big show, and I've been there, and I know Drew, and, there are basically three hosts that rotate through doing the show for the most part. Todd Newton, who's a professional guy that I've known forever, and Jerry Springer actually does the show sometimes.
Oh, does he really?
And then I do it. A little different show when Jerry does it.
Yeah, I'll bet. They're fighting for prizes then.
Yeah, well, the prizes become secondary. It's really just the Jerry Springer variety show. It takes about 3 hours, but, he's entitled.
Have you ever been to La Crosse before, Mark?
I'm trying to remember if I have. I have been all through the state, but I don't know if I've been to La Crosse.
All right.
I've been to like 85 cities of Antiques Roadshow, and they start to get a little confusing. But no, I don't think I've been to La Crosse. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So when you're doing any of your shows, what happens when you forget your line?
On The Price is Right, or
on any show. I mean, because doing this
for TV is forgiving. If you forget something, they stop tape and you do it again.
Right.
And on The Price is Right Live, there is no script. If you don't know the games, you're not playing. We just do it from memory.
Right.
And so, I don't think of it as lines. And I always tell people, if you're memorizing things, you're not in the moment. So the moment is you need to know where you're going, and the words will come. So I never really worried about that. Plus, I have a ridiculous memory. So I used to, when I was a warm-up guy, I would memorize the entire audience by name, and I would just recite them back. So,
how did you learn that skill?
It's not a learned skill. What happened? We had a show that we were doing 2 days for the same audience, and they had to sit in the same seats to match.
Uh-huh.
And I sat at the middle of the second day. I said, at this point, I feel like I know all of you, and I did, and I didn't realize that I did. And so then the next week, I showed that somebody else was in the audience that was there and said, do that memory thing you do. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'll try, and I found that I was able to do that. And I think what I always tell people about memory is there's all sorts of tools you can use, but mine simply is focus and trusting the fact that you're committing something from short-term to long-term memory happens. So you can just memorize something and throw it away for a while, and you'll remember it later. Mm-hmm. And so the best way to describe it is you remember what you want to remember. So if you're in a bar and you meet some really gorgeous woman, she gives you your number and you don't have a pen, you're going to remember the number.
Yeah.
So I just choose to be interested, and then I remember.
That's actually great advice right there. You ever thought about writing a book?
I'm in the middle of writing a book, actually.
What's your book called?
I'm almost done with it. The book is about how to be successful, but it's basically taking, the opening of it is I've been on Antiques Roadshow for 14 years, and I still know nothing about antiques. But what I have learned is about value and the 3-4 things that you use to appraise antiques, which would be, is it authentic? Is it rare? Is it in good condition? And does it have provenance or some historical importance? Mm-hmm. If you apply those 4 criteria to almost anything, you'll find where value is. And that works in relationships, it works in calendars, it works in business, and I'm writing a book about that, and then sharing some of my stories too.
I'd actually, you said you're good at memory. I'd like you to remember the name Bob Schmidt and BS with Bob, and when your book is done, I want you to call me, and I'd love to talk to you about your book.
Well, listen, BS with Bob is very easy to remember, and I'm full of BS, so that would be easy, and thank you for the invitation. I would be thrilled to do that.
My pleasure. I do have to ask you, though, because the name Mark Walberg, you're not the only person, You're not the only famous person that has that name.
So I've heard.
Have you ever had somebody go into an interview thinking that they were going to interview the other Mark Walberg and had the line of questioning?
I don't know if they've actually thought that, but it is everyone's favorite joke to make. I love your Boogie Nights, or I love doing this one. And when I was doing a lot of radio interviews for big TV shows, like when Moment of Truth or Temptation Island or any of those shows were back to premiere, and I'm doing these radio interviews one right after another, and I would get some radio guys, that were in, a smaller market, and they were giggling about their excitement to do this joke, and I would say to them, look, you can do whatever joke you want, but it better be good, because if it's one I've heard, I'm going to take you down. And I said, it's only fair game. It's only fair game. If you want to joke about me, it better be a good one or one I haven't heard, because if not, I'm going to come up with something about you.
Right.
Which is fun sparring stuff. The truth is, what are you going to do? Now, you know, this is my name. I never thought anyone would have the same name as mine. As a matter of fact, when I first got into business, I thought about changing it because it's not such a telegenic name. And I thought, well, but if I do that, all the girls that wouldn't date me in high school won't know that I'm now famous, and I need them to know that. And so I didn't change my name, and then Mark Walberg became, you know, a huge famous guy. And to be honest with you, it could bother me if I let it, but it really doesn't, because I'm so grateful to have this wonderful career, and the people who know me know who I am. The people, you know, it's nothing more than a funny little joke I get to make at the beginning of the show.
Right. Well, honestly, can I just tell you that when I heard the other Mark Walberg, I thought that he was copying you, just so you know.
I really wish that were the case, but I don't think that's it at all.
No.
Matter of fact, I have a new podcast coming out, and I think I'm going to call it "There's No H," because he has an H in his last name and I don't. So it was just called "There's No H in Walberg." It'll be my new podcast.
There you go. I'd love to be a guest.
I'd love to have you. We'll do a like an exchange student. I'll come be a guest on your show, and you'll be a guest on mine.
Very good. The Price is Right Live coming up Wednesday, November the 8th at the La Crosse Center. Tickets are from $29 to $49. You can pick them up at the La Crosse Center. Mark, I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Listen, if you come down to the show, it is a blast. It is a big party, and I make sure that we have a good time.